No. So this is anatomy and physiology. Welcome. Are you excited? Is there anybody in here that is not going into a health science career? Nobody? So everybody's going into a health science career. So why are you taking this class? What is anatomy and physiology? What is it? It's what? And by the way, this is she. Brandy knows this. This isn't a lecture, is it? We're in here together, aren't we? Right? So it's what? Tell me, Brandy. I didn't hear. So anatomy is the study of the body's form, right? And so knowing that this is your nose, this is your tongue, right? That's actually anatomy. You know from those structures, the name for those structures, right? So if you had come in here this morning and saw ears on this table and maybe livers on this table, you had a name for the structure, right? And you probably would even know where they're located, where they should be located. Is that correct? So that's anatomy. When did you start studying anatomy? In high school? Who else? Did anybody start studying before then? Anatomy? You started studying anatomy before you could even speak, before you could even form words, because you had parents who would say, stick your tongue out, and you would do it because you got a response, right? Or pat your head, or clap your hands, right? So you have been doing that, and it's elementary. The study of anatomy is elementary. You are honestly just putting a name to a structure, and then also knowing where it should be in situ, which means where it's usually situated, right? So we get to give you an example of that. We know that people usually have how many kidneys? 2, and you know approximately where they're located, right? But every now and then, welcome ladies, every now and then, is everybody alike? Well, actually, there's no 2 people alike on this planet, 7 billion plus people, and no 2 people are exactly alike. But we know where these structures, where these forms should be traditionally located, right? So that's the study of anatomy. What is the study of physiology? What is that? So that's how that, did you answer that? Mr. comes in here and starts talking, I love it. So absolutely is how that function, how it works, that form we just talked about. So the ears, the noses, the liver, not only having a name and knowing where they should be located, but knowing how they work, the function of it. That's physiology. We study them hand in hand at the same time. I mean, there are universities that allow you to study just anatomy, pure anatomy, and study pure physiology, but it kind of makes no sense at this level because we're at an introduction level. So doing them together makes beautiful sense, because let me tell you something. Why does the nose look different than the ears? Because they have different what? And let me tell you what will always be the truth. The form will dictate the function. The structure will dictate the function. Let's don't make this harder than it is, right? It's always the structure will dictate the function. And when we are learning in this class, and by the way, every one of you said you're going into a health science field, and this is what I need you to know about this class. This is no longer like one of your little check-in-the-box classes. Get over it. It isn't. This is a class that you have to own. When I say own, I don't mean memorize. If I could use the word memorize in front of me, you'll see me. My body language will start talking to you. Unfortunately, K through 12, you all have learned in school systems that you memorize and you regurgitate. That is not learning. Memorization is not learning. If you have been doing that, you've been taught to study that way. You've got to get over that for this class. Because in this class, you have to own it. I'll have students tell me, but that's not exactly the way you said it, the way that you asked the question. I said, I'm never going to say the same thing in the same way, exactly the same way twice. If you know it, you won't need to hear it that way. You will understand it. You will know it backwards, sideways, upside down, and just every which way. You could teach it. Let me tell you, your goal in here is that you learn this content well enough that when you finish the content, you could teach it to somebody. If you can do that, then you own it, and you can critically think about it. Patients aren't going to want you to have memorized something, because guess where mistakes get made? From memorization, right? And this class is not one of those check boxes, crossing T's and dotting I's for you that you do in those other gen ed classes. This is a core class. This class, the way you own this class at the end of this session, will be the foundation of the professional that you'll become. And don't think you won't be judged on it. You will be. How you speak, how you pronounce things, how you take information and be able to go from A plus B is women, not just C. I now can intuitively figure out that this is the next step I should take. That's critical thinking. That's what medicine is about. If you don't want to do that, you need to get out. Because in medicine, it is the only field of study that you're expected to be 100%. Is that even possible? Now, I'm going to tell you something. That's not possible because we are humans. But in this field, you can't make errors because if you do, what is likely to happen? It can be someone's life. And you know, that's going to probably upset them. But guess what? Are they the only ones involved? No. Because what ends up happening is they have family members. And they're not happy either. And because you have a conscience, hopefully, you're going to live with the rest of your life. You get what I'm saying? How many of you are going into nursing? Raise your hand high. I think that might be everybody. All right, let me tell you all something you all heard about. I usually have one or two that are doing something different. Was there anybody doing anything different? What did you do? Okay, I knew that. Hey, it's good to see India, right? Yeah, it's good to see you. Okay, that's great, though. Okay, that's medicine. I forgot what you said. I do that.
Yeah,
oh, yeah, but no. So what I mean for you is this, is that you're going to make mistakes. But the thing is, you're going to try to limit those mistakes. And the only way you can do that is to be a critical thinker, is to understand how to actually own this information, not memorize it, but own it. And realize that you will have to, from this point on, become a lifelong learner. Because the learning curve in medicine and in science right now, which is so awesome, is steep. It's straight up. And it doesn't stay stagnant. If you want to be able to balance a checkbook, then fine, go into business and things don't change a whole lot, right? But if you're going into science and certainly medicine, where people's lives are at stake, then you have to realize you're going to be a lifelong learner. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone and understand that. Are we good with that? The way we learn is not through rote memorization. We don't do it. And the way we learn is not through taking notes on laptops. It has been proven that taking notes longhand helps you better than typing them out. That has been proven. It has been proven that reading digitally is not the same as opening a book and reading. It's not the same. There's a three-dimensional aspect to that, different parts of your brain that are being used. Okay, so anyway, do you have any questions for me? So far y'all know about anatomy, you know about physiology. Let me say this to you. You have available to you a syllabus that's online. Does everybody know about Canvas? Everybody knows about Canvas, right? So you guys, how many of y'all have seen your syllabus already on here? How many of you not? And that's fine if you haven't. So if you haven't, you know that you can go on this, you can click on the syllabus, and this syllabus is going to, hopefully, it's all here. And you need to scroll down and you need to read every word. I'm going to give you the highlights because I think you wouldn't be here unless you could read, right? So I'm not going to insult you by reading to you. I use PowerPoints to keep me honest. I do not sit up here and read them. That would make them lose their power and their point, right? But it keeps me honest so I don't forget about talking about any content, okay? But anyway, you guys read through this. Let me tell you some of the highlights. There are no electronic devices allowed in this class. Phones should be off. The first time, if there's a ring or if there's whatever, I'll give you a warning. The second time, I'm dropping you from class. I'm dropping you. And I don't care if it's a week of exams, okay? So no electronic devices, because when they go off, when yours goes off, Brandy, it pisses her off because it just stole her attention, right? So don't do that. If you sign, he's already signed it even before you heard all this stuff. But if you signed a contract for this class, because the syllabus is a legally binding document, it is. It is the contract for our class. And it says in there that we don't have electronic devices, phones, those kinds of things. Now, sometimes during what we call lab situations, it will be casual, and you can certainly have stuff out then. But any questions about that? If that's going to be something you can't handle, then this contract's not for you, and you might need a different class. Do you get what I mean? All right, so let me say this too about this class. At 9 o'clock every day in here, if you're not here, after today, you'll be quizzed every day at 9 o'clock on the dot. If you're not here at 9 o'clock on the dot, if you're at 9:01, you're not going to get the quiz. It'll be a 0. There are going to be lecture quizzes every day you come in here, unless you have a test scheduled. And those tests will be advertised. So you'll know that there's a test that day, so there won't be a lecture quiz. What are the lecture quizzes on? What we lectured in the previous material, in the previous lecture. So today, if I've given y'all a couple of definitions, do you think that you may have something about them on the quiz that's Wednesday? Absolutely, right? So anything I talk about, if I didn't talk about it and I put it on a lecture quiz, you'll tell me and I'll throw that question out. Can I be any more fair than that? I really can't, okay? So listen, take notes, longhand notes. Also, the recording. If you feel like you're not taking notes well enough, or you just want to sit and listen and maybe listen to the recording later and take your notes from that, that's fine too. Bless your hearts if you have to hear it twice. But okay, you know, and some people never ever listen to the lectures because they're good at taking your notes, and they take the notes and feel good about it. Every day that you come in, you will also have at the end of, between that day at the end of lecture and the next lecture period, there will be a form that says discussion board forum. I hope this came up because I just added it. Yeah, it's here. So you will click, everybody with me on this? So you will click on this, and it'll tell you that you have to hit reply, and you can put in your study guide. So I want you to take your notes. I want you to review them after each class period. A lot of my students in prior classes, they were able to do this within 15, 20 minutes of the lecture, right? And they go on, they put like 10 questions. They'll write, what's the definition for anatomy? And then they answer it underneath it. And they type it in a message board and they hit send, they hit submit. When you hit submit, then you'll be able to see others. Guys, why am I getting y'all to do this? Because I'm like cruel and unusual or something? No, it's because it gets you to review your notes and what's your lecture quiz going to be on. Those lecture notes. And not only that, is Brandy, once you submit your 10 questions, once you submit your 10, you're going to see other people's. You're going to see Kiana, you're going to see Kiana, I'm blind. Okay, so Kiana's, and you're going to say, God, Kiana picked up something I didn't write down. I think that was important. Thank you, Kiana. You're thinking to yourself, thank you. And look at a few other people. And then will you be ready for the lecture quiz the next time we meet? Most likely. Lecture quizzes are usually, they start at exactly 9 o'clock. If you're late or you're absent, it's a 0. You don't get to make them up. But I will drop the 2 lowest. So you can be out or you can be late twice this semester. After that, it's going to start hurting you. Right? Sort of like a job. If you're late or out twice, you're probably fired. Right? If you work for my daddy, you would have been. So consider this a job, okay? So that's really true. Now, you can be late or out twice, and it's not going to hurt you too much. If you miss a lab quiz or a test, you must make it up before the next class period. So come to my office, find out today where my office is before you leave. Make sure you come to my office by 8 that next, before the next time we would meet at 9. Come in by 8, sit in my office and take it. The tests and the labs, you can make those up. Actually, you need to make those up. Okay? Any questions for me? That's the major stuff. Now, you have to read every word of the syllabus and sign and then if you still want to give me the signed contract, that would be great because I know that you're agreeing to this. Let me tell you something. This sounds mean. So some students have told me, actually my son this weekend said, that's how mean you go in there. I said, because he's had this class. I said, I'm not. Some students have told me I was intimidating in the beginning and then they realized that, no, I'm in this with y'all. This is a collaboration. I worked in medicine. I know what it takes for you guys. I was at UVA 15 years. I know what it takes when you have a bad practitioner in front of you. I know, I've seen it, right? And this is what I was going to tell you that I forgot. How many of you know what primary care providers are? You heard of that? PCPs, primary care providers? What are they? Somebody tell me. What's a PCP? What is a PCP? Brandy's writing that down. She knows me. Anything I say will be something that you would be responsible for. What is a PCP? What does that stand for? Primary care provider. Y'all know that what a a primary care provider is, what do you talk about a primary care? It's your doctor that you go to. How many of you have a PCP, a doctor you typically go to? Okay. All right, so y'all have heard that. Let me tell you what is not the primary care provider, the doctor. I know they call it that, but let me tell you who is. It's the nurses. You guys are nursing care. You are the primary care provider. And you know what you are also? You're the executioner. Do you know what that means? That when people are getting help, it's usually by your hand. And when people are getting harmed, it's usually by your hand. And you might want to say to yourself, oh, but the pharmacy sent it in that dosage. Or the doctor ordered that dosage. Guess who administered it? The nurses. I am in awe that I have a little bit of part of your future. But I'm going to tell you, I take it very, very seriously. This is not a crossing a T or a dot in an I class. This is your foundation. I had chill bumps after all these years. And to have chill bumps when you're in high flashes is something. I'm just letting y'all know that. So, you know, I am serious though when I say this. So I hope you all know I'm humbled to be part of it, but I will require a certain standard. And in medicine, 80% is your lowest standard ever allowed. 70.9.9, you're out. You get it? Now, my syllabus doesn't hold you quite to that standard. It doesn't. But when you get into the clinical programs, you're at that standard. And you might be thinking to yourself, 80%? Do I really want my nurse or my PCP only knowing 80%? But that is the minimum standard. Do you get it? Hold yourselves to high standards. Do I have any questions right now for me before we get started? Because we're getting started. All right, I had one more administrative thing, and it's on the syllabus just to let you guys know. We have gone to a couple of new things for you guys this semester, and one of them is that this is a hybrid kind of course. I usually get 5 hours with you all a week, but y'all will notice that we're only together about 3 hours a week this semester. Is that right? And so it means that some of this is going to be, you are going to be given assignments that are kind of online, right? So anyway, some of you all are thinking, thank God I don't have to see her 5 hours a week. Just 3 is fine, it's won't be enough. But anyway, so that's new. And we're going to work through it. And I'm going to make sure that you're getting, because I too take this seriously. I'm going to make sure you're getting what you need. And I know what you need because I worked in medicine for so long, right? It's not like I've only ever just been in a classroom. I haven't. I was a clinical microbiologist at UVA. So, and I was teaching there too some, but and doing research. But anyway, I know what you need. So when I tell you that it's important, I mean, I want you to own it before going and be what they can write. You know, but anyway, so great, you understand that. And then we also have something else that's kind of new, and that's this digital fee. I think it's $53.50. I think was the fee for the A&P. And what that's, and you can't opt out of it, and it's going to be charged with your tuition. So if you had financial aid, you won't even know. But you don't have to go to the bookstore because you don't need to. You're going to be able to get to your material on Canvas. So again, and this, when you hit modules here, you will see this McGraw-Hill Connect, right? This is going to, why should I do it? Oh, yes, it is. So this is going to say, go to my Connect section, and you're going to be able to get to the textbook, and you're going to be able to get to a cadaver series. And some of that cadaver series, the simulations of real cadavers, I'm going to have some assignments for you to do in there. So you have to have that. Now, for those of you who love having a book, because I'm one of those, you can for $40 because you're in this. The bookstore has to be able to give you a softback book for $40. Those books are usually like $380, but it's a loose leaf softback. If you want that, you don't have to have that because you can get to everything through here. So you get what I'm saying. But if anybody does, or if somebody has a friend who has an old book, you might want to just borrow it just so you can have a hard copy. Any questions for me about this? Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Is it Christy?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to opt out of it. I'd like to.
You can't opt out in this class. The $53 you have to do. You can in my micro. Is anybody in my micro later? And micro, you can opt out. And I know that the general email that went out said for opt-out information, you'll be told what they want, but in A&P, you can't. Because we're only together 3 hours a week. Some of this is a cadaver, where you're dissecting a cadaver, and you can only get to it through this. And that's that 5350. It's the book, it's the textbook, but it's also that cadaver. And so you can opt out in A&P. And micro, you can, and that's why that general announcement went out that way. So sorry about that.
I still get a hard copy.
You can, or you can, honestly, you can get a loose leaf copy for $40. It's still, that's what, $90-some, and if you've gone to the bookstore, we'll get $380-some. But you could also go on Amazon, it's like $20 and get an older, or just borrow somebody's, maybe, somebody. That would be a thing. But you don't need it. Everything will be right here at this link. It'll take you right there, and you should be able to get to it. Okay, and I'll talk more about that maybe later, but anyway, if people have issues, okay. So are y'all ready to start? You told me you're in here because it's a required course of your field, right? And that's a good reason to be in here, that it's a required course, but you also understand it's not just a gen ed required course. This is a core course. It is going to set the foundation of who you are. How many CNAs do I have in here? Look at that. I'm expecting you all to contribute a lot because you're in the field. You've been probably working and practicing some. How many PNs? Practical nurses? Do I have any practical nurses? And so absolutely, I have some people, you guys have so much. How many parents do I have in here? We all have some experience if we're parents, some with medicine, right? Because you didn't put them in a bubble, did you? And you bubble wrap, so there's some things that go on. So I want you all to realize that this is a cooperative type of situation, but because there's so much information that I feel like I have to give you, it will seem like a lecture situation, and it almost has to be. We know we don't really learn through lecture. Let me say that again. We don't learn through lecture. We learn by being active participants and being actively engaged in our own education. That's why taking physical notes is going to be important. When you're typing, it's a whole different thing. But taking physical notes, reading things in addition to what we're talking about, being active in your learning, going on and making those study guides, looking at other people, you got to do that to learn, right? Okay, so here we go. Now, when I think about us as humans, do you think of yourself as human? Brandon, do you think of yourself as human? Do you? Yeah. I'm picking on her just because I know. Do y'all, how many of you think of yourselves as human? We're in here studying human anatomy and human physiology, isn't that right? So you think of yourselves as human, but let me say something to you, you're not just human, or you can't understand that human anatomy and physiology unless you understand what we're made of and what keeps us in a balanced, healthy situation. We have trillions of cells, trillions of human cells that have different functions that are all communicating, individual little cells that are sending out signals in the form of molecules communicating with each other, and sometimes the cells are busy and sometimes they're resting and whatever, and they're all communicating. Sometimes they're not communicating really well, but anyway, they're kind of communicating. But here's the thing, you have 10 times more cells that are bacteria, fungi, yeast, mold on you and in you. You have way more number of those organisms depending on you. And that might gross some of you out, but you have more microbes in your mouth than there are people on this planet. And without them, you wouldn't be healthy. You don't even want to know how many microbes you have in your colon right now. And let me say this to you. Without them being in a perfect balance, in a perfect garden balance, you wouldn't be healthy. Your skin, how many of you like Star Trek? Or maybe Star Wars for you. I was a trainer. Okay, but anyway, but your skin has so many microbes on it. They are feeding off of some of the products that your skin puts out, and they have their own little metabolism. They're putting out this acid shield that is protecting you from the environment. Did you thank them lately? So anyway, you're thinking about To understand human anatomy and physiology, you have to understand we live in a microbial world. 80% of the life on this planet is microbial life. What does microbial mean? What does microbial mean? Small. So small that you would take a what to see it? A microscope to see it. Is that right? That's exactly right. So small it would take a microscope to see it. So yes, we have to concentrate in this class because we don't have a lot of time for that. We have to concentrate on human anatomy and human physiology, but we have to keep in our minds understanding that we live in a world where we're dependent on other microorganisms. I want to skip, because I'll do this. I can do that if I want to. Okay. So we could start right here learning about the whole organism. An organism is an individual. And wouldn't it be fun to start right here with the babies? Okay, but that wouldn't make any sense. There's no way we can understand an organism unless we know what organisms are made of. And we are multi-celled organisms, meaning that we have a lot of cells that make up the organism, but we are complex, right? We're pretty complex. We like to think we are. But let me say something. We're made of a lot of organ systems. Somebody give me some examples of organ systems. What organ system is this that you're getting a little picture of? The digestive. What are some other organ systems that we have? Respiratory. So cardiovascular, endocrine, lymphatic, integumentary, which is skin. Right? So we have a lot of organ systems that make up this. So let's start with the organ systems, right? That wouldn't make any sense either. Because what we have to know is that organ systems are made up of individual what? Organs. So like the digestive system, y'all told me this is a picture of the digestive system. So to understand the digestive system, we would certainly have to know what organs make up the digestive system. Give me some of them. This is just an example, but what is this? That's an example. That's a stomach is an organ, right? What are some other organs of the digestive system? The large intestines, the colon, the small intestines, the liver, the pancreas, the lips, the tongue, right? There are a lot of different things we think of as being organs in that organ system. And if one of them's not functioning, what is going to be impaired? The whole what? The whole system. Right? Okay, so we get this. We get that we're in here to study human anatomy and physiology, but we can't start with an organism. We can't start with the organ systems. We can't even start with the organs. Because what we have to ask ourselves, and this is the way you think when you're studying, what are organs made of? They're made of different tissues. And let me tell you, there are 4 major tissue types. I want you to write them down for me right now. Here they are. So again, what do tissues come together to make? Organs. And there are 4 tissue types. I want you to know that it's epithelial. Don't ever ask me to spell because you all can look things up. Epithelial, connective, muscle, and nerve. Epithelial, connective, muscle, and nerve. If this recording works today, will you all be able to go back and listen? You know, you can scroll forward. You don't have to hear the whole thing. You can just go to parts that you might have missed, right? 4 tissue types. So 2 or more tissue types come together to make up organs. So let's start with the study of tissues, which, by the way, is called histology. Histology is the study of tissue. Let's start there. Do you want to start there? Because you know all about tissue? You know all about tissue? You want to start there? Or wait a minute. Wait a minute. What are tissues made of?
Cells.
Cells. And there are over 200 different types of human cells that come together to make up those 4 tissue types. JD, you go by JD? Yeah. Okay. So JD's right. So cells, over 200 different types of human cells. You think they all look alike? You think that cells all look alike? No, because their structure is going to dictate their what? And when I start talking to y'all about some cells and why they look the way they do, you're going to think to yourself, well, that makes perfect sense that they're shaped that way because that shape dictated their what? Function. It's so good to see. Okay, so right, that's exactly right. So let's start with cells. By the way, the study of cells is called cytology, and I will C-Y-T-O-L-O-G-Y, cytology. So let's start, instead of histology, let's go ahead and start with cytology. What do you think?
No.
Look, JD's like, okay, I know this game now. No, we're not going to start there because most of you don't really understand what's going on inside the cell. But let me say this to you, and you write this down. The cell is the smallest unit that we know that has properties of life. Now that I'm saying that the cell is the smallest thing we know that has properties of life, and humans have over 200 different types of them that come together to make 4 tissue types. You hear what I'm saying? Going forward, going backwards, you're thinking about all this hierarchy and making it make sense. And hopefully you're finding it kind of interesting because you are complex. You are. You are complex creatures. But let me say this. Cells are alive, but what do we think of being alive? What does that mean? What is being alive? What are some characteristics of life? What you said? So some type of respiration. So some type of respiration. And why do we respire? Why do we have respiration? Why? But not all life forms need air, or certain types of air, and the air has to be made of certain components, right? But why when that says we need it to live, it means that we have to take it in because we're going to change something so that we can use it for energy. Because if you are alive, are you working? So a cell has the ability to pull things in like air, like respiration, and food, and change that to a usable form of energy to do its work. Do you think your hair follicle cells, some of them are doing the same thing as your liver cells? Do you think they're doing? They have very specialized functions. This is what, and we're going to find that out. Those 200 plus different cells, the reason they're different from each other is they have very specialized functions. They do very different things. Your cardiac muscle wouldn't work as skeletal muscle. You hear what I'm saying? Your endocrine glands that are giving you hormones can't produce oil for your skin. They've become very, very specialized. Are you with me? And they're working. And by the way, they're working 24/7. Even when they slow down their work, they can't completely stop because if they do, they what?
Die.
They die. So your cells have to be able to take things from their environment, breathe, if you will, eat, change it into a usable form of energy so they can do their specialized work. Many cells can divide. Some of your cells will divide every few hours of your entire decades of life. I hope you get to live. Some of them will live for decades, but some will only live for hours. So they have different lifespans depending on their specialization. Is that lifespan important for them? Yeah. If they lose the structure of their lifespan, does anybody know what it's called when a cell loses its information on how often it needs to divide? Does anybody know what that's called? And it's dividing and dividing and dividing, and it doesn't have any kind of order. Does anybody know what that's called? Cancer. That's exactly right. So how complicated are you? You have over 200 different kinds of cells that will come together to make 4 tissues. And each of those 200 different types of specialized cells they're so specialized they even know when to die. How many times they should divide and when to die. You're complicated, aren't you? And those cells are alive. They're working. I call it animation. Right? And they're doing so many things and they're never at rest. So what in the heck? The cytology, the study of cells. So what in the heck are cells made of? Well, even before molecules, let me tell you about human cells. I don't know if this will let me write it. But if we think about, my color. Okay, whatever. So if we think about this being a cell, and we've got these little structures inside the cell that have unique shapes. If they have very unique shapes, those shapes probably have different what? Functions. right? They have different structures, so they have different functions. And that wasn't drawing exactly where I wrote. But anyway, but you kind of get what I mean, or maybe you didn't. But if you look here, these are called organelles, which are not to be confused with organs. An organelle is inside of a cell. Let me give you some examples that you should remember. The nucleus of a cell is an organelle. Have you ever heard of mitochondria? Mitochondria or organelles. Okay? So those are two examples you have of organelles. Let me ask you this. Are organelles alive? Are organelles alive? Organelles alive? No, because what did I say is the smallest thing that's alive?
So.
And the organelles are inside of it. They're not alive. They're not. Because if you were to pull them out of the cell, they're not alive. Are they helping the cell to survive? Yes, they have very specialized functions inside the cell. And without them functioning, the cell probably won't be doing well. But they're not alive themselves. So a nucleus is not alive. A mitochondria is not alive. A Golgi is not alive. Do you get what I'm saying? So anyway, they're not alive, but they're inside the cells and they have special functions that are required by the cell. What'd you say? They help the cell stay alive. Now, let me tell you all the next thing. Organelles are made of molecules. When you put macro in front of a word, it just means a big molecule, right? If you put micro, what would that mean? Small, something small. Macro means large. By the way, the hardest part of any topic, I don't care if you're going into accounting, bless your hearts if you are, because science is where it's at. But anyway, the hardest part of any study is learning the language. When you all learn, when I give you prefixes or root words or suffixes, own them then, because you'll continue to hear those prefixes, root words, and suffixes. They don't change their meaning, and that's building your arsenal on your knowledge base. You get what I'm saying? So learn it as we go. But so big molecules, does anybody know what this is a picture of? It probably says it up here, no, that. So does anybody know what this is an illustration of, this molecule? Yeah. You do know that it's DNA? Does anybody know what DNA stands for?
I know nucleic acid.
It stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. And you would need to know exactly how that's spelled by the next time we meet. Deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. Know how to spell it, know how to write it. Deoxyribonucleic acid. Is this alive, this macromolecule that we will find inside of a nucleus? Is this alive? Is it alive? The molecules. Are molecules alive? No, because what's alive? What's inside of the cells aren't alive on their own, but are they functioning? Inside they're carrying out functions for the cell, but they're not alive on their own. Why am I stressing DNA? Yeah, what you say? Yeah, let me just tell you something about DNA. DNA, you know what I think about with DNA? It's not even alive. But DNA, this double helix, this twisted double helix molecule, it's a huge molecule called a macromolecule. This is called the signature molecule of all life on this planet. All life, the signature molecule. And the reason is just what you said. What's your name? Nancy, what's your name? Fatima. I knew one of you. Nancy and Fatima. Nancy, your DNA molecule is not even alive. But what it is your recipe book, your cookbook that makes you you. Y'all are sisters? Her cookbook is not the same as you. I don't care that you're sisters. Could have been identical twins. It's still not exactly the same. Your DNA fingerprint would be the same, but you're slightly different just because it changes. So your recipe book, your DNA, as soon as it came together, that was your recipe book that holds all the information for the sebum oil gland, for the cell that ends up becoming an endocrine cell that produces estrogen. That's the recipe there. The cell that will end up becoming the cell that becomes your fallopian tubes, there's the recipe there. Cells that, you get what I'm saying. The recipes are all there. No one's ever had that same recipe book that you had. When you die, unless you step out in front of a truck, don't do that. But unless you starve yourself or step out in front of a truck, when you die is in the recipe book. Is death an essential part of life? It is. It is. Your recipe book is unique to you. It is the DNA molecule that is dictating the color of your hairline, your muscle mass. Now, certainly environment plays a huge role, doesn't it? But it is the DNA that is the blueprint that makes up all life on this planet. All life on this planet. Are you with me on this? Okay, so it's a macromolecule, but what is DNA made of? And what are some of these other macromolecules? Let me tell you about 4 categories of macromolecules that you want to know about. You ready for them? These are all things people will get the syllabus and leave today. Bless your hearts if you felt that. That's not happening. Okay, sometimes I'm not really getting, I was trying to be funny. But anyway, here are the 4 macromolecules that are inside of cells that are the building material for cells. They are carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are one category of macromolecules. The next category of macromolecules are proteins. Have y'all heard of these things? The next one are lipids. Lipids. And the 4th category are called nucleic acids. So what category do you think DNA falls into? As a nucleic acid, right? And what I mean when I say this, so are carbs, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids alive? No. But they are the building material. They are the building blocks of what's inside of your cells. Are you here? Are you with me? Okay. And what these macromolecules are made of are smaller molecules, and then molecules are made of atoms. Have y'all ever heard of atoms of elements? You have? How many of you had chemistry? So everybody's supposed to have had chemistry before they come in here, but okay. So atoms of elements. Elements are the smallest thing that we know that have their own unique properties. Give me some examples of elements. Carbon. What? Iron, hydrogen, absolutely. Nitrogen, oxygen, potassium, sodium. Y'all heard of elements, haven't you? Right? Atoms of elements, right? These atoms of elements are the smallest things that we know, elements that have their own unique properties. Are they alive? No. All right. So guys, we've talked about life. We've said that 80% of the life on this planet is microbial life. Even you have more microbial life forms in you cell-wise. They're just tiny compared to your big old human cells. Than you do human cells. And must that balance be what it needs to be for you to be healthy? Right? Is everybody with me on that? So we understand that. And here's what I need you to know about all life forms, whether you're talking about microbial life forms like bacteria, protozoa, yeast, and other fungi that aren't microscopic, plants and animals, all the life on this planet. All the life on this planet, almost 98% of any life on this planet, any life form, whether it's a bacteria or whether it's you as a big multi-celled complex organism, almost 98% is made of 4 elements. Those elements are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. You have got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. Are you saying that almost 98% of you are just those 4 elements? Yes, you. Yeah, you are. And 98% of me are those 4 elements? Yeah. And 98% of a little microbe, if I were to take it out of your mouth, a little bacteria, 98% of it's those 4 elements? Yeah. And how they come together and make their DNA molecule dictates how those cells will function? Yeah. And if I were to take, Dylan and Amy, if I were to take your 4 elements out, hydrogen, put oxygen in a tank, nitrogen and whatever, the tank tube. If I were to put everything, take them out, it'd be about $3 worth of those elements in a lab that are making you. You'd be worth about $3 worth of those elements in a chemistry lab. You guys, if you're not sensing that it is phenomenal to understand how elements, 4 elements make up most of a life form. Now those other 2+%, they're important too. Those elements are really important too. But that most of you and most all life forms are those 4 elements, how they're coming together to play with each other, how they're coming together to make up molecules, how they come together to make these molecules that end up making macromolecules, that end up making organelles, that end up having a function inside of a cell. If you don't consider that interesting, you're brain dead. I'm serious. You have to be. Do you get what I'm saying? That's phenomenal that we all are made of those 4 elements, and how different they're playing. India is showing me differences. Does India not look exactly alike? Minus the wrinkles, right, and the weight. Do we? But India, do you get it? So guys, what is it? What is this study called? What's the science? When we learn how and why atoms of particular elements come together to play or not. What is that study? What is the study of understanding how atoms of elements come together to play or not? That science is called chemistry. Chemistry is, and see, all of y'all told me you had chemistry, but you didn't learn what chemistry was. And you said, what you said? Chemistry is the study of how and why elements will play with each other or not, and how they form themselves in their play with each other, and then play with other molecules to make these bigger molecules. So guys, can we really understand human anatomy and physiology at an organism level without understanding chemistry? Thank you for saying that. Say it louder. Can we understand it? We absolutely can. And if you are resistant to it, then get over the prejudice. Because I guess if I had asked y'all before I started this, how many of you love chemistry? Most of you would not have raised your hand. Okay. So, but everybody should love it because it is how we know, it is how we understand human anatomy and physiology. Let me tell you all this too, and you all are going to see that this happens as we go along our study with each other in these 2 semesters. Hopefully it'll be 2 semesters for you. Thank you, 1 and 2. What you're going to find out is that all disease, and y'all are going to want to know the disease before you even know the normal anatomy. Y'all are going to be asking, but what happens with that? What causes that? Right? So you're going to want to know disease. But you can't understand that until you know what's normal, what should be normal. But listen to this, all disease, all human disease, any kind of disease in any organism level is at a molecular, which causes cellular disease. All disease is at a cellular level. And the disease is because what is not working? The molecules that are supposed to be coming together to have special functions. So guys, do you need a very thorough understanding of basic chemistry? Especially what we call biochemistry. Write that word down. Biochemistry, especially biochemistry. What do you think biochemistry means? What does bio mean? It's the chemistry, it is the atoms of elements that make up life. How many of you all remember the periodic table? I mean, you didn't have to memorize it, God. That's why they had the table, so you can go to and look at it. But you know what I'm talking about when I say a periodic table, right? So you know you could go look up a periodic table and you learn the basics of it, how it's organized. Okay, so you understand that there are 100+ elements, right? That make up all life and non-living things. There are atoms of elements that are blurring with my skin at an atomic level and playing with each other all the way to your skin of your noses. We are all connected. If we could see with an atomic microscope right now, we wouldn't be individual entities. We would just be blurred and we would all be connected, right? You don't need drugs, you need to just study science, right? You just blow your mind sometimes really thinking about these things. It's really true. So we understand that many elements are in non-living, atmosphere, non-living things. But there's about 24 elements that make up life. There are about 24 elements that make up life, and the study of those 24 elements is called biochemistry. It's called biochemistry. So we understand, we are so thankful that there's some people who are fascinated by biochemistry, because could we possibly understand disease without knowing it at a molecular and cellular level? We couldn't. And how do we treat it? How should we be treating it? At a molecular and cellular level. Do you get this? Okay, so guess where we start after this little introduction chapter? We start with chemistry, don't we? And we're going to be excited about it. Okay, so we start with that. We're still in our introduction phase. So do y'all think I'm going to ask you questions backwards, sideways, forwards, and whatever, upside down about this organization? And you're going to have a good understanding of examples of tissue types and molecule types and even elements, the 4 major elements. You would know those. That's exactly right. Okay, so anyway, so we kind of did it. I want you all to also know a couple of other basic things. And that's when we start looking and studying people. We understand that when you're examining the human body, which we will start looking at organs and even organ systems, and y'all do have a cadaver. It's called Revealed on that site, and it's awesome. There's an adult, but also an infant. And by the way, everybody know what a cadaver is? So it is it's a dead body, right? And the thing about cadavers that you study in an actual lab, they're never very good to study because they've been exposed to preservatives, which change what the skin and the tissues look like. And because it changed the consistency, it doesn't give you a true representation. But the simulation of that actual cadaver, that was, and when I say I can't think of another word to use other than fresh, which sounds disrespectful for the cadaver. I didn't mean for it to be, but it's fresh. It's that when they were doing that dissection, they took thousands of pictures with each step, and you can use your mouse to dissect through the skin, cut the skin off, go deeper into the fascia and the muscles. But then if you want to see it again, guess what you can do? You can put it back. And a real cadaver, when you have it, it's kind of shriveled up, it's toughened, it's leather looking, and and you cut it, and once you cut it, you had one chance to sort of see it, and then after that, it's in your contaminated material box. You get what I'm saying? So cadavers are a wonderful way. We can use also, we can use comparative anatomy, so we have a couple of human structures here to look at, but we also have sheep and cow eyes and sheep brains, and we have other comparative species that are similar. So these are all ways that we can use to study human anatomy and physiology and try to know that, but we can also examine structures on the human body by inspecting, palpating, auscultating, and percussion. I need you to know the differences between those terms. Inspection would just mean what? That you're doing what? You're really paying attention and you're looking. Let me tell you, that's becoming a lost art because nobody's looking at patients anymore. They're just trying to get lab results because the lab's diagnosing. We need to go back and do that inspection and, really, really be listening to body language. This most of your communication comes through what? Not what you say, but what? Body language. It absolutely is. And patience, for sure, right? Because they think that if they come in just because they came, you should know everything, right? But you're not going to know. You have to really kind of pull it out of them, and sometimes it's looking at their body language and thinking, what are they not telling me, right? So palpation is to touch. Auscultation is to listen. So using a stethoscope, would that be, which one of those would that be? Auscultation, right? Percussion is that you're tapping on a structure and you're listening for an echo rebound. So you're doing both, palpating and auscultating, because you're listening to see if maybe a structure is filled with fluid or is hollow, you know. So sometimes that's kind of what that means. So make sure you identify those, right? And again, this is the cadaver dissection that you'll have available to you through the digital thing. So it won't be for a few weeks. It won't be for at least 3, maybe even more weeks. That I'll give you some assignments that I want you to go on that, and I want you to look at certain things, you know. So we'll get to that when we get to it. But anyway, the beauty of this, and it really is the beauty of this, is that, you know, countless number of students have learned anatomy and physiology through this simulation, because you can remove the skin and see superficial muscles like this platysma, which you all will learn the name of these muscles. Then you remove that superficial muscle and already see it on the sternocleidomastoid, which is deeper, right? And you'll learn all those muscles, and you'll learn the bones. But you can go down, and then if you think to yourself, wait a minute, I forgot, was the platysma superficial or deep to that? So you can go back and put it back, you know, and start again, knowing. I always, because that's anatomy. Anatomy is, I'm sorry guys, I'm not trying to shame you into this, but anatomy is easy. You start studying a long time ago, didn't you? But some of you will say, wait a minute, I got to learn 206 bones and all those muscles. I got to learn that muscles on that list that you guys, all those muscles, that's Latin, right? The names of those muscles, but it's a limited number, and it takes time. There's nothing hard about it. It just takes time. So time management is going to be crucial for you guys, right? That you don't wait until the last minute like you did in high school and have to vomit back a study guide, because is that going to be the case in here? No. So you all already know what lecture quizzes are going to be like. It's only what we talked about the period before. If I ask you something Wednesday morning that we didn't say out loud today, you're going to tell me, and I'm going to throw that question out. I'm not going to count it, right? By the time we get to tests, which are all multiple choice, the tests are multiple choice, guess what you're going to be studying? Your lecture notes. You're going to be studying your lecture notes, aren't you? And you're going to have already been up really well. I had one of the lowest fail rates of any A&P courses. I think I do have the lowest. But it's because of all of this testing. This is a class that if you had, and you only had 4 tests in a semester, that's all you had, they were 25% of your grade, each of them, about half this class would fail. And I'm not saying because half the class is not smart in here, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's overwhelming. Do you get what I mean? And because you all have such, like I said, I'm humbled. I know you have children and jobs and significant others that shouldn't be significant. And, you know, you have things, that was a joke. But anyway, so you have things going on. I get it. But you have got to time manage. You've got to time manage for this, because it is the foundation of the professional you'll become. And I already said that, and I mean it. That's how much I mean. So anyway, we know we can learn through that. I want you to know that gross anatomy is actually referred to as what you can see with the naked eye. I had a student one time answer that on a quiz that said it's really yucky. Okay, no, it isn't. Gross anatomy means what you can see with the naked eye. Can we see all things with the naked eye? Go back to that hierarchy. No, we said the tissues and cells. So you can't see those cells, can you, without a microscope? But what we can see with the naked eye is called gross anatomy. Cytology, this is a look, I'm telling you right here, but you listen to what I say instead of what's up here. Cytology is the study and function of cells. Histology, don't put cells, it's the study of what? Tissues. Histology is the study of tissues. Now, tissues are made up of what? Cells. So it is true that when you're looking at under the microscope at the tissues, you're seeing individual cells, but what are you really looking for? How those cells are coming together to form the what? The tissue. And you're looking at the tissues. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay, so make sure you answer that correctly. What is pathology? What is just pathology? Don't read to me what's up there, but what do y'all know? What does ology always mean? Ology means the study of history. Pathology, pathos is dark, bad, evil, right? So It's the study of disease. It is. So pathology is the study of disease, isn't it? Pathology is the study of disease. So that's what that is. When you talk about histopathology, it's the study of disease at that tissue level. But where did we say all disease really originates from? It originates at the cellular molecular level, doesn't it? Cellular molecular level, absolutely. Now, luckily you don't hear about exploratory surgery too much anymore, where people get cut, from stern to stem, they kind of call it, and just laid open for exploratory surgery. You don't hear about it too much anymore, but it used to be a thing that was pretty common. Now we have what is called non-invasive imaging we can do before we have to really be so invasive and go in and cut. I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime because I'm already old, but it will happen in y'all's lifetime that you'll look back and you'll think, oh my God, we used to cut people. We used to cut people. When really all we really had to do was fix it at what level? The molecular cellular level. Instead, we were cutting and we were damaging. Really just damaging things going in and just doing all kinds of havoc to try to, do whatever. But all we really had to do was fix this. So I'm just letting y'all know. I think it'll be in your lifetime, maybe not mine. But anyway, all right. So pathology. Do you have a definition for pathology? Do you? All right. So I also want you to understand what the definition for science is. And I know this is real basic, but I have y'all been taking science since elementary school. What is it? Is human anatomy and physiology a science? It is. But what is science? What is science?
Understanding how something works.
It is the understanding of how something works and JD will just add a little bit to that, in the natural world. So science is a methodical way we can ask questions about our natural world. It is a methodical way to ask questions about our natural world and try to seek answers about the natural world. So under science, if you think about science as that, we already said that chemistry is a subdiscipline in science, didn't we say? And then biology, what will biology be? A subdiscipline under science, wouldn't it be? Right? Physics is a science, isn't it? There's some social sciences that call themselves sciences. Don't say I said that. Oh my God, don't let the social science people know that I'm recording. But anyway, but science is about asking questions about the natural world. So we understand biology. Under biology, though, that umbrella, then you have under biology all kinds of studies. Like if you study plants, anybody know what that's called? Botany, so whatever. But then under that biology, we have human anatomy and physiology. And so that's what we're in right now, right? But even in human anatomy and physiology, and y'all already know this, in medicine now, it's become incredibly specialized because the rate at which we're discovering information is so fast now that it's almost impossible for one person to really kind of know it all. I heard this many years ago, and it's still true today. Y'all know what family practitioners are, right? A family practitioner is a practitioner that you go to for your routine stuff, right? Your little physicals, if you have a sore throat, hope you don't go for just sore throats. Only 3% of them are stress. So it's usually a virus. Get over it. You'll get over it. So anyway, but you would go to a family practitioner. The best family practitioner is the one who knows their limits and knows to think, I think I need to send you on to a specialist because it's impossible. The information that's being learned and discovered right now through science of the human anatomy and physiology takes about 10 years to get to the family practitioners. It takes about that long, and that's too long, isn't it? But specialists get it quicker. So a great family practitioner is going to be one who says, I just don't think this is quite routine. Let's get you to a specialist, right? And then there's a catch-22. If you go to the specialist is unfortunately, not always, but unfortunately is often just looking at that part of you and not looking at the whole, So they can sometimes miss things too. You get what I mean? You see what I'm saying? There's a catch-22 there. But the specialties, the sub-disciplines in human anatomy and physiology, neurophysiology, study of the nervous system, endocrinology, studying hormones. And let me say this about hormones. A hormone is a molecule. Is it alive? No, because molecules aren't alive, are they? But let me tell you what these molecules do. They rule and they rock your world. And most of the time when I tell students that hormones rule and rock their world, they're thinking of sex. Because guys, we are animals and we often are thinking of sex, whether we're consciously aware of it or not. But guess what? You're going to realize when we get to the endocrinology chapter, which is actually the second part of AAP, we start with that. They're ruling so much about what's going on on a second-to-second basis for your cells. How your cells communicate with each other is through what being released? Hormones, which are molecules that are signaling molecules to tell other cells to either turn on or turn off their activity. Important molecules. This is an important study. We are like cave people in our study of endocrinology. How many of you know somebody that has an endocrine problem? Maybe they have diabetes mellitus. Maybe they have a thyroid issue. Nobody knows anybody? Okay, everybody here knows somebody with an endocrine problem. But honestly, if it's complicated or not being treated well, guess who they need? They need a specialist, an endocrinologist. They do. And then we talked about pathophysiology, or mentally. But anyway, the mechanisms of disease, we're talking about that too. All right, so I want you all to know Hippocrates is considered the father of medicine. The father of medicine. And you have all heard of the Hippocratic Oath, haven't you? The Hippocratic Oath essentially says to do no harm. In medicine, that you will do no harm. To do no harm means you need to know enough. Right? To do no harm. And even then, are humans perfect? Are they perfect? There's such a problem in this country right now with litigation. It is ridiculous how in this field of medicine 100% is supposed to be. And no two people will ever respond to the same medicine in exactly the same way. But guess what's expected? 100% good outcome. It's unrealistic. But by God, we have to do the best we can, don't we? With the understanding of that. So anyway, the father of medicine, you know what Hippocrates said? He said there's a cause and effect for disease. And if you look hard enough, you'll find the reason for disease. You don't get a disease because of the side of the railroad tracks you were born on, or because of the color of your skin, or because of the type of sex you have. You don't. There is an etiology. Etiology, write down, and I'm going to spell this, E-T-I-O-F-L-O-G-Y. E-T-I-O-L-O-G-Y. Etiology means the study of the cause of something, right? And Hippocrates, a couple thousand years ago, told us this. He said, look, we have, if you just pay enough attention, there's going to be this cause and effect for disease. We just don't know it all yet. We have to explore, we have to experiment, we have to figure it out. So that was an amazing thing. And then you know what? For a couple of thousand years, nobody paid any attention to it. But thank goodness, in this revolution that we're living in right now, in the last 100 or so years, really, people are paying more attention to that and understand that. There are still some people who think that HIV is because of the color of your skin or the type of sex. Does everybody know what HIV stands for? Human immunodeficiency virus. It is a virus. It is a virus, just like a cold virus, just like rabies virus, just like the measles virus, just like it's a virus. It doesn't care what kind of sex you're having. It doesn't care how old you are or the color of your skin. It doesn't. It's a virus. And it's spread in a particular way, right? And people who get exposed to this virus may eventually develop a disease that we call what? They don't always, but they may, especially if they're not treated, they're likely to develop AIDS. What does AIDS stand for? Know exactly what HIV stands for. Know exactly what AIDS stands for. AIDS, Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome, right? In the early 80s, in the early 80s, I was at the University of Virginia in the infectious disease department working in pathology when our first cases came in. And back then, it was essentially 100% fatality rate then. In this country, y'all know that we're only 5% of the world's population in this country. But Americans think it's all about them. I hate to say it, but we kind of do. We consume more than 25%. We produce more than 25% of the pollution on the planet, but we're only 5% of the population on the planet. But in this country, it was a horrific time in the 80s because what was happening was through contaminated blood products and whatever, in this country, the first population that actually the virus we started to see in were the homosexual population, males, homosexual males. And because of that, research dollars didn't get put to it. Politicians did, they weren't going to that, beside with that. At the time, there was so much prejudice and bigotry. And I hope we've come a ways, but I wonder sometimes. Okay, but anyway, so the United States wasn't the leader in the investigation of that because of bigotry, right? But we also had children dying. At UVA, we had children. There was a set of triplets, 3 little girls that were doctors. A doctor that worked there at UVA, his wife had 3 little identical girls, and they split a unit of blood for them, which they often have to do with a multiple birth. They'll have to give blood products. They split a unit of blood, and that unit was contaminated. There was no way to test for HIV back in the early 80s. Those 3 little girls, I watched them die over the next 10 years, one at a time. Those 3 little girls were, they couldn't let nobody could let anybody know that they were HIV, their status, because they would have been shunned. They wouldn't have been allowed to go to their daycares or their elementary school. It was horrific. People in the 80s, y'all look this up. Don't ever believe the person in front of you in the room, because this is a privilege and I don't want to take advantage of it. Don't ever believe anything anybody says in front of you. Always do your own research. But you can look this up. Neighbors were burning down their neighbors' houses because their kids had hemophilia, or blood clotting disorder that required them to give human blood products that caused them to have HIV positive status with AIDS, and they were burning their houses down. That's fear. That's fear leading to violence. And most of our stuff is through ignorance, right? And when I say ignorance, I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying lack of information, lack of knowledge that leads to fear, that leads to these things like these conspiracy theorists, Fox News. So anyway, those people, right? They drive whole herds of people to do things because of fear. But don't you all be like that. Y'all look up your own information. Never believe anything I say here. Do your own research, right? But absolutely, Hippocrates said that. They said, this person isn't dying from diabetes because of the color of their skin or because of whatever. I think they have a problem processing sugar. Hippocrates would say that we need to look into this and how to figure it out. Because now that we've figured out how to do this and study the etiology, we can study and try to help to prevent the spread, and then also to understand how to treat the disease, right? Enlightenment. That's actually called enlightenment instead of fear driving things. So Hippocrates, what an amazing thing. Now, imagine 3,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, imagine people were using herbal salts and physical. Imagine them using that for healing. How crazy is that? Is it? It actually isn't crazy. And finally, we're realizing the way that we need to go about this, and I can see why it's happened the way it is that we need to do preventative disease. And these things actually do work. You guys have all heard we are what we eat. Well, guess what? We are what we eat. What were those 4 building materials for cells? What were those 4 macromolecules that you said? Okay, wait a minute. What's the label on your foods that telling you?
Carbohydrates, protein.
If you don't put the building materials in and the right amounts and whatever, can you build your cells? Can you? No, you can't. So the idea about we are what we eat, we are what we do, we are the guardians of our genetics. We are the guardians of our genetics. I have one more thing to talk to you about, and I'll leave you with this, and do take notes on it. What was the signature molecule that made you you? It was DNA. And y'all are going to know exactly what that stands for and how to spell it. DNA. Where did you get your DNA from? How much did you get from your mom? So half and half. So you got half from your mom, half from your dad. Is that right? Is that what you did? You got half from your mom and half from your dad. And when you got that, Christy, when you got that, how many cells did you start with? Because a cell is alive, right? The biological definition for life is at a cellular level. So the cell, how many cells? So you had an egg and a sperm. They met, right? It's hard to think about your parents having sex, but they did. Okay, so look, you started with one cell, is that right? And now you have trillions of cells. So something must have happened in that one cell. Let me tell you that first cell, the name of that first cell. It's called a zygote. Z-Y-G-O-T-E. I know I tell you I won't spell and I usually won't, but Z-Y-G-O-T-E, zygote. We all began as one cell, a zygote. We did not start as an ova or an egg and a sperm because the ova wasn't you yet and the sperm wasn't you yet. But when those two cells got together and fused and formed a what cell? Was that you? And then what had to happen with that cell at that point? Divide. And it divided to two. And before it divided to two, what did the DNA have to do? Well, it made a copy of itself. Because you had the recipe book, but that recipe book had to make a copy of itself. So before the cell could split, now each of the two cells have an identical copy that was in the first cell. Are you with me? Before the two cells could divide into four cells, what did the DNA in those cells have to do? Make copies of themselves, right? And then you had four cells. The DNA copied themselves, and then you had 8, and then you had 16, and that's called logarithmic growth. After about 20 divisions, you have 1 million cells. And every one of those cells, inside of every one of those cells, is a copy of the what book? The first recipe book that made you. Nancy? Okay. Right? Now, let me give you a definition for something. You already have zygote. You know what that is. I want you all to know that, I don't know what I want you to know. Oh, I want you to know what the definition of stem cell is. Because y'all told me that you start as a zygote, but now you as an adult have trillions of cells, which you can't even get your head around, but not that many cell numbers. That's a number we can't even fathom, really. So many. So for that to happen, cells have to divide. And before they divide, they have to make a copy of the recipe book, right? But let me say this. I want to give you a definition to think about. We'll start here and come back. And that's a stem cell. A stem cell, basic. Does anybody want to define it for me, for everybody? Not many of you. Okay, you want me to define it? Okay, all right. So a stem cell is essentially an early, immature cell that hasn't decided what it's going to become yet. So you know what? It has the potential to become what? Anything that your body might need. The earlier the stem cell, the more potential. Are you with me on that? The earlier the stem cell, the more potential that cell has to become what your body needs. I want you just while you write that down. And by the way, when you take notes, you don't write down every word I say. You just write down a couple of basic. But I want you all to think about this. We're fully grown, right? It doesn't mean we don't have cells replacing. We do. Until we die, some of our cells will be replacing themselves every few hours. Some of our cells, once they're there, they have to live forever because you don't get them back, like your brain cells. Be careful what you do with your brain cells, okay? And also be careful when we say about guardians of our genetics, especially women. We'll find out why this is, especially girls. Whatever you do in your early life can affect your eggs going forward. You are the guardians of the next generation. Watch what you're doing to yourselves, right? So anyway, but I really want you to know that that's what stem cells mean. And now we have like heart muscle. It can't become anything else. Those cells are heart muscle. They can't become anything else. But we have in our fat, I kind of love this about fat tissue and fat cells, we have some stem cells in there that can actually become other things. They can't become a lot of different other things, but they're pretty good. They're stem cells. In our red bone marrow, we have stem cells that can become any kind of blood cell you need, depending on which one you need it what day. Today I might get a bleed and I might have to produce a lot of red cells and some platelets. My stem cells will become what I need. Next week I might get an infection. Those stem cells might need to become white blood cells, but will they? Because they're there, they can become white blood cells. They have the potential. The earlier the stem cell, the more potential that they can become what you need. Okay, so was that enough for today? All right, so do you all have enough notes to do at least? Don't do more than 10 questions. Let me tell you why. Because I've got some of you like Luz, if you didn't take questions for your entire notes today, somebody will figure out Luz is going to do the whole notes. I don't even need to take notes because she's going to have mine just look up her notes on the study guide. Will you be able to see other people's study guides until you put yours in? No, you won't be able to see other people's until you put yours in, right? Only do 10, but study all of your notes. Study all of your notes because you don't know what 10 questions I'm going to ask. And if I ask you something that you just happen to miss, well, I'm sorry. It's going to work out in a wash. You know what I mean? But it means I want you to know everything that we talk about every day. And if you do, you will pass this class, and we will celebrate at the end, right? Okay, Hershey kisses. Okay, Kristen.
Yeah, I just wanted to know steps on how to get to on the syllabus.
Oh, it's through Canvas. So when you do My SVCC, have you gone into My SVCC? Well, let me, I tell you what, let me go out and I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just go out and do that. So under, you put in your, do you know this, Christy? So you put in your name and password and you sign in. And then when you sign in, you get these tiles, right? Everybody good with this? And this is where you go to find out your class schedule, your financial aid, all that stuff. Well, this is where you go for this class information. You hit Canvas. And when you hit Canvas, you get these are classes that I'm teaching this time. So this is our class. I don't know how many classes you have. You might only have 2, but you would click on this, and this takes you for this class. And then this is my instructor view, but your view would look a little different. Let's see if I can do it. Student view. How do I do it? I thought it was on the page. There you go. Yours would look like this. So you go to the syllabus, go to modules, it's where we were before, to click on those things, and that's it. Now, some of this stuff isn't new. Like this brain fuse tutoring, that's who the college offers that to all students. I don't know what it is, but if it's somebody, look, let me say this about tutoring. If you know you're a person that could really use tutoring, and by the way, if you think a tutor's going to feed it to you, they're not. You still have to, you get some hints from them, but you have to do your work, right, with it. Then there's a tutoring service here that you can sign up for, and the sooner you do it, the better, if you think that's going to be something that can help you. And it is a resource that's free. So anyway, that's a good question. Thank you. Any other questions? And if you think you're going to stay with the class today, I'll take your contracts up here. Thank you. Thank you. I hope everybody's going to stay with the class. Great.